Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sylvan Leone. I'm an associate professor of drawing and painting. On behalf of the Department of Art, welcome to this afternoon's lecture, Alex Hubbard, Building Your Own Projector. Alex Hubbard was born in Toledo, Oregon. He received a BFA from Pacific Northwest College of Art in Portland and attended the Whitney Museum Independent Study Program in New York City. Working across painting, sculpture, and video, Hubbard's diverse practice references art history and extends the prescribed characteristics of his chosen media. His video works, which I believe he'll be discussing today, are composed like paintings and render visible the performative nature of the artistic process. Alex Hubbard's work is in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago, the Henry Art Gallery, Seattle, the Institute of Contemporary Art, Miami, the National Gallery of Victoria, the Seattle Art Museum, the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum, the Hammer Museum, the Marciano Art Foundation, Los Angeles, the Museum of Modern Art, the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the University of Chicago, and the Whitney Museum of American Art, among other important collections. He is represented by Gallery Eva Pressenhuber in Zurich and Reagan Projects in Los Angeles. Please help me in welcoming Alex Hubbard.
Hi. I'm going to start out by showing you guys movies I made starting in 2008, short videos, and then it gives us a place to launch from there. Let's start with this. Are you guys getting the sound? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I did. Nice.
That beat.
The basic and
So those were Foley sound effects, and I'd set up a device often where the camera was attached to one side of this frame and then filming the other surface. So I could turn this box and it would affect the actions on the screen. And then
Why are you still moving? Here.
I'm locked out. I'm going to disconnect from the screen for a second. Any ideas?
Weird.
It froze the laptop for some reason. I don't know. Should I close it? I'll close it. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so let's see. Did it work? Huh. Well, we'll do a different talk. It's frozen.
It's flat.
Weird.
What it is a way to force quit, restart it.
Try it.
Just grab it.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
You can just talk to me.
So is it frozen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Just restart it.
Thank you.
so that first fit.
The word. Anyway, so though we can talk anyway. So I was making those videos where it was this series of actions, and I was editing it way down, and kind of these quick cuts, documenting these different steps of like it's as you build a painting or as you build any artwork, where you're reacting to what you've done, and you hate it or you love it, or it works or it fails, and then how do you extend from that? And then concurrently, I was making paintings. So for me, that was a problem, was that the two practices, if they get too close together, they would kind of undermine each other. Instead of, I kind of thought things shown together, it can be where they add to each other, but also sometimes it becomes like the lowest common denominator between the work. So for me, it was important to kind of keep the two practices separate. Thank you. You'll see.
We don't.
Okay. This is my daughter's computer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Did it connect? All right. I'll show you one more movie. Let's see. Here we go. It's mirroring.
Yeah.
All right. This one, let's see what else I got. Here's a short one. This is still in the same style where you're recording these different actions with different props, and all the props. It was fun because, you can't pick anything in contemporary. Everything's referenced in contemporary art. So if you buy a Mylar balloon, you've got Warhol. If you get tar and feather, we've got like boys. Like, so the fun of this was that you could draw on this language that we all kind of share by just going to like the dollar store and then incorporating these things into a video.
The teacher. What? Tom.
Okay. Now, concurrently, I was painting, and I tried everything painting. And the first kind of paintings I made that I felt were successful and kind of fit the moment were with resin and fiberglass. And it was like 2008 or 2006, and in there, it was the era of like Wade Guyton and Kelly Walker, and it was a lot about a digital print and kind of big Epson printers and the airs of the printer and this type of reproduction. I worked for Christopher Wool at the time, so I was really immersed in silkscreen and copying, and so in that moment you need to find a different way to work. Like, you can copy your boss and you could copy the people you look up to, but these were the first things I made that I felt like were my own, were these fiberglass paintings. Let's see. And at the time, wait, I'll just do all of them. But, oh wait. View. Slideshow. So these were, the beauty of these at the moment was that I was doing like a full slideshow. I could pick the parameters, I could pick the color, I could pick the palette, and then just the mechanics of making the painting, of deciding where it's tinted resin on fiberglass, and just moving that about would, it became like a gesture and a record of making, which the videos perform the same way. I made several of these and tried to work within this structure for a while. But I am someone who's restless, and those paintings were really a commercial success, and it put me in, it wasn't that comfortable to me. It was like, it was a lot. It was just, I kind of entered into a different art world that I wasn't so comfortable in. But they did well, and then at some point though, you you don't know why you're making the things. Like if you're just being asked for more work, I don't know, I kind of lost my drive on those. So then I moved into making, I'm going to clip this back on, these paintings with found objects. I was finding trash on different beaches, and I would travel to find different garbage, which was probably more of an escape from life than actually needing exotic trash. But you would find different things in different places and then incorporate them into these paintings. So I was mixing all this found beach trash into resin and dumping it on canvas. And then again, it was the mechanics of moving it around and that determining the composition of the work. I mean, you do have say in the color and the palette and which objects I'm selecting, but at the time I liked that it wasn't this kind of this labored painting time. It can be great, but it's also can be so frustrating. So this was kind of my way around that for a while. Then I had the idea, if I was going to make these almost three-dimensional paintings, and having worked for a guy who did silkscreen and reproduction and all this, that what was the version you could do with the three-dimensional painting was like how could I extend that? How could, instead of just photographing it and reproducing it in different ways and messing with it in the computer, I decided I would I'd have a cast made of this painting and then bin the painting. So, I mean, this took me into a different, I'm going to clip this on. Okay. And there. All right. That's just giant. So here's the first cast of a painting I did, where this fabricator who was across the street from my studio made an exact replica of my painting out of urethane, which is like a plastic, industrial plastic. And then I could take this and heat it up and bend it. So here's the first batch, was these. This was kind of the first project where I was over my head, and like I had to build a giant oven in my studio that could fit the whole painting, and then you would heat the thing up to it's like 180 degrees, and then you had 5 or 6 minutes to come up with a form. And these were problematic for me because they had to go back to the fabricator. He'd put fiberglass in the back of them, and then I'd paint the paintings. I'd paint the color on, and just the whole process was really painstaking and expensive and slow. There's you want this I wanted this kind of like immediate effect to the work, and it got bogged down by, for me, just this process of working with a fabricator. I couldn't stand it. Like the money you're spending and the time element, just it wasn't what I was after with the works. So then the next batch I decided to do myself. Let's see. Here's one of them. And these we did, I mean, I had help, but I did these in my studio. And then the color, instead of the color being applied later, the color was in the urethane. So the color was the thing, which for me, it just changed it as an object, that instead of this being painted and applied, that it was part of the material. And this one's called Here Muffs. Here's more of the shots of the first batch. These were the painted ones. You can see the back wasn't painted fiberglass. Where did I go from those? Oh, okay. So then in that moment, there was kind of a beauty to this urethane when it was applied. You know, you had this, it was again like this super saturated material you could pour. It's nicer to pour than paint or acrylic or anything. It's like the way it moves on canvas when poured was really beautiful to me. So I started using the urethane as paint and then painting on top of it. Oh wait, this is way later. That's when I started painting them out. But here, this is urethane. This is everything. This is all awful chemicals. This is auto paint, urethane, fiberglass, acrylic, polyester resin, and charcoal on canvas. And I think I lost the enamel on my teeth for a few weeks from chemicals. But it's come back.
Yeah.
So this, like the yellow you see, is urethane. That's not even finished, that one. Then it's like at some point I could not look at the plastics anymore. Like my body was, so I started painting on top of it and covering it up. This is a mix. This is oil, then I'm starting to put oil back over it. I think just out of like a need to get away from chemicals. This is urethane. Not polyester anymore. This is polyester resin. No, it's not. This is not polyester. But lots of urethane and auto paint, which is incredible material. I love auto paint, but I will never spray it again. Then this is kind of a mix of all these different materials. I'm going to play you guys another video. Play an excerpt from 2. Because during all these different developments with painting and all these materials, I'm still having a parallel practice with video, which for me is amazing because you can take a step back from the problems of one and take on the problems of the other practice. I'm going to skip ahead. This one kind of starts out slow.
It's great.
So with these videos, I got to where they were functioning closer to painting, which might have been my goal at the time. But then you lose this kind of the linear quality of video. So it's hard to, you're asking the audience to stay through something that doesn't necessarily have a beginning or end. Well, I have one more I'll show you an excerpt of. Or this one, there's a rat, a trained rat I hired. I'm proud of it. Where's the rat? Oh, there he is. Okay. Saw it. And then I think this is the last video I made. The last video I made before I started the Projector project was this one. I'll just play a couple minutes.
You know it. Hey, look for it. And then there's a line. You didn't know it. Right? Wait, don't slay them. Or realize them. Don't. No, I know. Well, I just thought I'd give it a call. I'm hit. So we did. But good. Let's. Bacteria. Let's see. And 30. Here. It's it. Good. Yeah. I hope they're really good night. I'll check you. It's hard, fellow. You know.
Wait, really hard. Wait. What's going on? That makes it all right for you.
Straight. You're so deep. You're very long of this. What is he? Wait, don't wait.
We covered that.
Wait a second and say it's big dead. And now I get it was. Hello, please ring the message after the phone.
Who's this statement? What's your name?
You need it.
All right, so now I quit making videos, but it was getting to a different place. Like YouTube was, like, I don't know if it had exploded yet, but at some point when everyone had a 4K phone and TikTok and YouTube, the idea of making a video was a lot less appealing. Like this, that everything had been, it felt like everything's been filmed, and what do I have to interject in that? Just like a loss of the terrain that I knew. And there's people doing like making messes or blowing things up or all these things, like they're doing a way better job on YouTube than I could do. I'll show you the paintings I was making then after that. Urethane with prints. And again, for me, it's always this back and forth. Like you want to get, you decide there's one element of your practice you can't stand, and you do everything you can to get rid of it. And then you decide you need to try it again or somehow re-engage with it. So then I looked at industrial printing had changed. So I started using this dye transfer. No, it's like this UV prints they could put on plastic. Full screen. And I tried to pick kind of stock imagery almost. Like I wanted the removal from, I wanted this to be just another mechanical layer and treat it almost as like an abstract thing. It was a big deal, and now it seems so ridiculous to worry so much if you're abstract or regular. Like this conversation, it just had so much weight. And then I just, it's all these things we imagine and this kind of inner dialogues and hermetic thinking. And then really, none of it is that critical. And art's changed so much since this time, but I think this is one of the kind of positive changes about it, that the boundaries around all these things are less, they seem a lot less important than they did for a while. So this is urethane oil paint, digital sheet print. This is everything. This is everything I use. These, I quit using the printer, and I found this guy from Yale who could just paint anything I gave him. I would hand him a picture, and he could apply it. And then I could paint over it if I didn't like his hand. This is just digital print and chemicals. Carcinogens and digital print on canvas. And then this is that one. So then I had the idea, I wanted to make a video that changed. Like if everyone's got a phone and everyone's recording everything all the time and culture's kind of disintegrating and no one agrees on anything, I was like, well, what's happening and how do I approach this with video? If everything's been recorded, but it seems like there's less an agreement to a truth or like anything, I had a big idea that I was going to do that with a video. So I was going to make all these different things that changed based on the person in the room or like how they were interacting through the space, and I started looking at using different technologies that register movement, and it just took me into a realm I wasn't, like tech art, which is okay, but it's not what I do, and I don't understand. It's not natural for me. And then so I sat with it for a while, and I was like, well, what are you trying to get at? Is that everyone's kind of perception of events, despite what's being recorded, is what matters. That's what your truth becomes, despite what there's not one real event, despite all of our documentation and recording of everything. So I got the idea I'd make my own video projector and started. I visited a friend in Oregon he's a engineer and who makes projectors, or did, for an Oregon company, and he showed me how it was done, and he showed me the textbooks he uses, and he showed me leftover parts from projectors, and he kind of said, don't do it. He's like, it takes 10 people 2 years to make a projector. And these are like people who understand optics and engineering, and I don't understand any of that. So my idea was that I would pull apart a projector, see how it's made, and then cast my own lens, because I wanted to incorporate the urethane I'd been using. Like, I felt like it was important to still make this an art object, even though it was going to be this piece of technology. Let's see. There's me. What? There's not any order to these. That's me with like an early cast lens. It looks like a pretty good one. There were some bad ones. This was COVID. No, it was this COVID? No, this is before COVID. So this is this is the first attempt where I cast a shape randomly. It was a lens, but I didn't have the formula for how to make a lens. Like, I didn't understand. I knew there was a formula, it's like you get eyeglasses, they're all going to be different. But I had no way to calculate what lens I would need, what the curvature of the lens, what the size. I just knew how I wanted it to look. But then how do you compute this? I had no idea. Oh, that's later. This is trying to cast a lens. I don't know what version this is. But it was trial and error, mostly error, for like 6 months, all day, every day of the week, like 14 hours a day. Thinking I had one assistant, and we would theorize so much nonsense. Like, we thought we had it figured out every day. We thought we knew what was wrong. And I don't know. I still don't know. This is in the front is a Fresnel lens. It's like a lens that is on a projector TV, or you can use to burn ants or something. It's like a magnifying lens. This is cast urethane. The same material I was using for paintings, but then cast into a lens. Here's an earlier version. There's a tremendous problem of heat, which I dealt with a lot, because if you have crappy optics, they're not efficient. The way of making this projector is extremely inefficient. So the amount of heat generated, the amount of light I had to shoot through a regular LCD screen would burn the screens. So keeping the whole thing cool became, that was one of our main projects. And you figure out, stepping out of the realm, I think I've got this mislabeled now. But here's just projector junk this is the guy who told me not to do it. He showed me this box. He's like, you can't do this. He was encouraging, but not like optimistic. Oh, this is just beautiful. I don't even know what to do this. This is a beam splitter. This isn't in my projector. It was just like a beautiful thing of how if you know what you're doing, the light's separated and reconfigured, so you get a crisp, clear image. This is me burning the first screen I burnt. There's like a surf movie playing, and then that blob in the middle is the LCD screen being burnt by the light source. I burnt through so many screens and broke, you'd wait for parts from China, like Alibaba. I would order screens, and then they come and they don't work, or you break them immediately because you don't know what you're doing. So then, you're hiring people. This is a disaster too. You're hiring people who don't have a concept. Like, you have this big idea, and as an artist, you don't, you want to follow where the thing goes, but when you're working with people who don't understand that, and they're like an engineer, they don't want you to be like, well, I don't know, what do you think? They want you to have measurements and ideas and deadlines and a budget. So it was like this cast of characters that you're trying to finagle people and to get them to help you on something. And, some people can do that and some can't. It's maybe starting to work. There's Halloween. We're putting like the lenses to use. Here's like bellows made out of construction paper. Oh my God. This is a, this is like a way to cool the LEDs. This is people who do intense gaming buy this. It's like a water cooled, it's a water cooling thing for a CPU. And I figured out I could cool down my LED lights with these. I'll show you some more where they actually start to work. I think. Let's see. No, it's the same pictures. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This is farther along. So this, I had these Burning Man people cut steel for me with the CNC, and they would only respond to email at like 3 a.m. The bellows were made by a company that had been in operation since the Civil War in the South somewhere. They were incredible. They were the only people that actually were like, no problem, we can do this. They started, what is it doing? As they started to work, like as they got closer to actually functioning, this one's cracked. Oh, here's sanding a lens. This is miserable. Like, I got closer to, I'll show you the image. This is, I think this is almost as good as these got image-wise. So it's not beautiful, but it worked. And I decided I'd make these kind of quick looping videos that were like almost like a cubist painting, to go back to this idea of all these things we record and the kind of disagreement on what's being seen. It's like this very new, like a contemporary way of going back to this split perspective on things. Here's one. Oh, God. And it was important for me, you know, that people could see all the hard work I put into it. So the boxes were transparent. This was this old, amazing fabricator in Los Angeles, Jack Brogan, and he makes all the light and space stuff. And he scammed me for this fiberglass, or this plexi. This had been for a Robert Irwin, and it was a defect. I bought it from Jack, and he was a great guy, even though it was like you're still kind of happy to get ripped off. He was a very cool guy. Let's see what else. Here's the final installation where they're working. There were two of them, and one of them died like an hour and a half to the opening, but it was kind of enough. And I continued with these, and they got too good. This was what was interesting, is that eventually I found this person. This guy, this was another insane person I met. This guy hadn't left this bunker. I mean, this is what he said. I'll never know. He only met on Zoom. He was in a bunker. He'd been there since COVID. This is like 2 years after COVID. And this guy, we showed him images, and he was able to like troubleshoot the projectors and get me like a crisp image with simple things. He's like, paint the side, the lens is black on the edge. I can't remember his other things offhand. But then this was the second show I did. I got a crisp image, and they were boring. Suddenly it was like, oh, I made a projector. And it kind of lost the like weird magic of this fucked up thing that was somehow able to run with all these cobbled together parts. Anyway, I'll show you, I don't know what else to show you. I'll show you paintings I've made since then. Like I was so burnt out from this that I didn't work for 6 months. I just was like, I could not work again. They were sitting in boxes, and we're kind of wrecked from this. So then I started painting again. Where does it say it? Urethane with No. What's this? Oh yeah, this is just painting. Regular old painting. Which is a relief after. But it goes back to, it's like all these different materials and the mechanics you get. Yeah, I showed you that one. This is paintings I did for an outdoor space where I incorporated stuff from their yard and put the paintings out in the in the rain. I don't know. Do you guys have questions? I'll put on a movie that I'm working on that doesn't, it's not a finished work. You can see it in the background. Maybe I didn't bring it. Pickle. Oh, here. I'm electrocuting pickles.
And so it's good.
Or you gotta hear it. It makes a sodium light. Anyway, that's what it does. Yeah, what questions you guys have? Yeah. Oh, fuck. I did one. Why, I'm always someone who's like, I'm fine. Like, this is fine. And this one, I made this spinning wheel. I wanted to make a spin painting for a video. I made one. And I cut out this huge wheel out of wood and put a camera up on the ceiling and started the thing going. It was cut out of 3/4 inch plywood I had around, and I'm dumping paint on it. And the table starts to shake and the thing just shot out at me and it tore into my arm and hand. And it was like where you look at a cut and you're like, yeah, I gotta get stitches. That's the worst. I got really lucky, and early ones like cutting that symbol, I don't think I had on safety goggles. Now I'm a lot more careful. You learn you'll get hurt. And I don't know with the chemicals thing too, you don't want to be Ava Hess. We don't know what so many of these things do. So I used to this is awful. I would dump polyester resin in my apartment for the early paintings I made and then run and come back 3 days later. Just the chemical thing you don't know. And they'll tell you what part A does and part B does and that those don't cause cancer, but they don't tell you what the mixture does. And a lot of them you don't know. It's probably cancer. Anybody else? Yeah.
How long did it actually, the fit me to those people?
Oh God, I looked at those slides. I think it was 8 months. And then going back into it was another 4 months. And I found better help. I found people who could help me with the electronics, and that saved a lot. And you find better fabricators, but they weren't as good. The second and third batch I wanted people to see them so bad. You were like, this is good. And you want people to see it, but going back and redoing something, it's loses its life kind of. And you don't want to just do that. I don't. Yeah.
What actually,
I grew up surfing, and then I saw this friend had a show in Norway, and he'd covered the windows with fiberglass and resin, and I was like, I'd do that better than him. And then it opens up that box.
Lord.
No, not that talented. No, it's a different, yeah. But it's I live in LA now, and it's the nice thing is that so many of these, it's all there for Hollywood and quick prototyping, the urethanes, the auto paint, like California custom auto paint, and it's all there. It's all in the valley. So it is, I don't want, and light and space work relied so heavily on it. This kind of the finish fetish stuff, and so it's there and it's part of that vocabulary. Anybody? Yeah.
When you're filming the video, do you know how to put them together, or you just got this idea yet?
Just decide. I mean, because there's so much dead space. There's things you hope will happen and you plan out for, but you know, it's like painting where it doesn't work, and then you're responding to it. And the first ones I did in my apartment, and just destroying these apartment, like that, the feather out of the pillows. There were feathers in my apartment for like 6 months, 7 months, like forever. You can't get rid of that many feathers, like blowing them out into the street, 3 a.m. So you're responding to these things as they happen, like a painting, and you prepare as much as you can and then try and be able to move through it. And then you've got to cut it down. I struggle with video art, you know, like you're asking a lot of people. People are never in an auditorium. You walk in, you see a video piece, and maybe there's a bench. And then how long do you feel like you engage with this? It's hard. I don't know. So, and I'm like core MTV generation. So my instinct is like cutting fast cuts. And I've made longer ones to kind of work against that, to, you know, like make yourself be uncomfortable. There's so much good cinema I love, like structuralist cinema. And these things are like you're watching blinds move for a half an hour. Like, and they're incredible works, but they're really difficult. We don't have that attention. We don't have that much time. Yeah.
How much of the costs from the video painting applies?
Just the idea that, the lenses, and then sourcing things, I guess. I don't know. No, it really took me into a weird world. And there's this thing called Upwork where you're hiring people, engineers and stuff. And I just met the weirdest cast of people. I met this Coke addict who was selling me blown lenses out of the back of the store where he worked. I met another guy. I'll never know if I got scammed or not, but he did tell me the formula for the lens, how to calculate it. That guy, I mean, I just met continually strange people. So that, I mean, it's related. Yeah. Yeah. No, not now. Now I'm in like isolated Glendale. And my upstairs neighbors were too nice when I lived in this apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about how the lens got too good.
Yeah. Boring all of a sudden.
Don't you think they like purple another aspect? The depth.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I feel that. You know when you hit that point, and I just never was comfortable sitting with it. You get that idea in the middle of the night where you're like, I'm going to make 10 of those. Those were good. And you order all this stuff, and then I could never sit with it. It's got to be fun to make. Or like at least, I don't know. Yeah, that's a really thing I struggle with. And I made enough of the videos where I just didn't like repeating myself. And that's really hard too. You get pressure from, if things are selling, nobody's going to tell you, why don't you try something new? Like they don't want to see that. The bent paintings I made was for a big show in Switzerland. It's my first show at this place. And I thought, oh, all these people love me. And that I was like taking the needle scratching on the record. Like these people had flown in to get paintings, and I made this crazy ass show. And it was like, you know, different response. Yeah. It's good. It buys you freedom to push against it, but it's not why people are. It's why you make things, is to keep it exciting, but it's not why people are collecting art, which sucks. Yeah. For the videos, I would make a list in advance, and it was just like things that things you wanted to reference, or things you thought would have a good flow, and then trying to set up for that. So it was pretty planned, but rare that it worked out. And I don't know why I was like really adamant about doing it in one night, like one take. But instead of going and slowing it down and buying different things and reacting to it, it had more energy to it if you were just wrecking through it. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how. I met a guy who he went to Bard and he made speakers, and he helped me do all this wiring stuff, and he does all this tech art stuff, and he had this other resource of people, because he's doing like more this kind of interactive tech work. Yeah. I don't know where he is or who he is. Uh-huh. A favorite one? Oh, there's some of the paintings that I still feel like hit the mark, when you get a good one. And it feels like something you didn't make. Like you can trace how you did it, but it feels like it kind of was above those ones. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you know when to stop?
I don't know. It's when the things don't bother you anymore, right? Like the things don't eat at you. With painting and editing too, you're going through it hundreds of times until you get it, the motion's fluid, and there to be a logic comes back into it. Yeah. Sometimes you wish someone would intervene too, like tell you to stop. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, I did the Whitney program. And I worked for Beth B. briefly. She's like a 70s political artist. She was clearing out her studio in Soho to make commercials. And then I worked for different people in New York. I worked in galleries a lot. And then I worked for Christopher Wool for 3 years to deprogram the Whitney program.
Didn't you talk about that?
Whitney program?
Yeah, because
It's like,
from then it's all like heavy institutional.
yeah, I think it's softened now. I think it sounds like the new version is more open, but I went there and it was still like really intense Marxist ideology, and it was great. It's like fascinating to learn about, and you have amazing people come talk to you, but it wasn't the work I was making. I kind of would make work at home in secret and then make work that I could show to like Mary Kelly. It's a great thing to do. I love the people I met, like the other students. But then you do this self-critique and trying to push everything so directly into theory that works for some people, but I think it stops a lot of people from producing work. And so it did take me time to kind of back off that and not think that way. I'm not against it, but it didn't work for me. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're talking about the rigor of that lens process. long day.
Yeah.
But any works towards motivation. Like what?
Dude, I don't know. Like, it became like really compulsive, and you have to figure it out, and you're so close, and it's like, this is going to work. This is going to work. And I had a deadline, and I said, this is what I'm going to make. And it was like 1 step forward, 5 steps back, like every day. Something would break, like breaking a tiny electronics thing, or it's so frustrating. So it was just like, we have to make this work. The guy, my helper too, was incredible. He was like down for I sent him we got this UV glue once that it needed a special frequency of UV light, and we put the glue on, and then he took it to a tanning bed for me. It's like, he was a great helper. That was the only thing we could think of. Yeah.
Where'd you find that?
Utah? I don't know. He's gone. He couldn't hack New York. He was like too angry. But he's a good artist. Yep. Anybody? Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.